John, you are up for the invocation.
Father, your word says, if any of us lacks knowledge, let him ask of God, who will give to all of us liberally and not withhold it from anybody. So we thank you for that. I pray for wisdom and for understanding tonight from those who are participating in the meeting. Pray God that you would lead out in our community, and Lord, we would live in such a way that we don't have to apologize for anything we do or say. And so Lord, give your understanding to those who are here. Pray God that the business that they have to conduct will be done decently and in order for your glory. It's in your name I pray. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really hard to hear.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and have a roll call to begin our meeting.
Supervisor Hobbs? Here. Supervisor Stancil?
Here.
Supervisor Fitch? Here.
All right. All right, let's go ahead and review the agenda. Any amendments to the agenda or disclosure of conflict of interest? I think Mike wants us to amend the agenda so he can do a presentation. I am open to that. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved to amend the agenda to include Engineer Mike Hackett under department head reports. And then, I would like to make 2 corrections.
Sure, let's do this first.
Just do this first and then we'll go to the consent agenda. If you're okay with that.
Sure. So I'll make a second to approve it by adding, roads engineer.
Okay. All right, all in favor, any discussion on that?
No.
All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, and then Diane, we're now on the consent agenda. You want to make some corrections to?
Just at the
minutes?
regular minutes, April 22nd, 2 people requested to receive and file. That was not stated in the minutes, and it was, I moved and motioned, it was Vicky Brenner, and I moved, Jess seconded, and then Michele, Brandt. I moved, Hobbs seconded it. That needs to be, you can pen and ink it.
Okay. So other than that, for the consent agenda, I'll entertain a motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
Okay, Diane?
Second.
Second. Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Okay, we are on now with the department head reports. Brady, did you want to go ahead and start?
Sure. All right. Brady, Foreman, EMS Director. Through the end of April, we're sitting at about, they're at 397 calls, which is about average. We average about 100 to 120 a month. So we're right on track there. We had a pretty busy month. We had an opioid committee meeting, which we kind of discussed a little bit about giving the opioid money away to who we're going to give that to, and make a recommendation to the board once that's all finalized. We did Stop the Bleed with the Winterset Junior High School on the 7th. On the 8th, we did a meeting with a quick response team. Winterset High School has a quick response team in case something happens in the high school, they can get there. The 8th, we had a Build My Future, which was at the State Fairgrounds. They had 7,700 kids, I believe, that come through the entire event. We probably saw 2,500 at the EMS booth. Had a bunch of things they could do. Look through the ambulance and stuff like that. Interested in just all. It was for our first year, it was a very good turnout. The 18th, we had a quarterly meeting, or I'm sorry, the 10th, we did a CPR class. If anybody needs CPR, just let us know. We can get you worked in.
The class, not.
Class, yeah. If you need CPR, we'll work you in there also. If you need CPR class, let me know. Otherwise, you might call 911. Had a quarter trauma meeting with Madison County Hospital. I've had an EMS drill with one at high school. They had somebody in their shop to test out their quick response team. One of their students allegedly cut their hand, which, I mean, it was all set up, and then one of the teachers had a heart attack while they were tending to the hand. So that worked out pretty well, kind of gave them this look at
Just
what,
scenarios?
yeah, all scenarios, what can happen. And then we had an AED class at the St. Paul Lutheran Church on the 23rd.
What's the quarterly trauma at the hospital? Or do you do things or?
Yeah, so the hospital has to report quarterly on the traumas that go into them. And then they get critiqued by, like the hospitals in Des Moines, because most of those get transferred. So there's big forms that they have to fill out, and then it goes back to us. It's nursing staff, doctors, us, and hospital administration. Because then it comes to us it just kind of goes down. Did we bring them in with a C-collar for our numbers? Did we put them in a C-collar? Did they need a C-collar? Did they make it to CT within so much amount of time? You know, what splitting did we do versus what
So
splitting
they're
they did?
critiquing you?
Yeah, they critique us, and then I get to hear what they get critiqued from the people above them. So kind of go through everything, because their medical director for the ER is our medical director for the ambulance also, so.
Does East Peru, do they still have an ambulance?
No,
No.
fire only,
It's what?
fire only.
Fire?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Brady.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious, on the high school quick response team,
Yeah.
the Winterset, who is that comprised of?
Well, so there's the nurse, and I think there's 4 teachers from different parts of the school,
Yeah.
and they've all got a responsibility to grab something if the call, they of course dispatch the ambulance, but they somebody's grabbing the AED, somebody's grabbing like a medical bag, somebody's grabbing other stuff, kind of depending what it is, and then they'll try to get there and triage the situation and kind of get it a little bit under control before we get there.
So they each have a function and they're acting as first responders.
Yeah, but they've got it set up to where if it does happen, there's already stuff in place for who's gonna cover their classroom. Like if they leave, the next teacher kind of then goes back and forth and knows that they have to watch their classroom. So it's a very well thought out plan. I mean, it was interesting to see how they worked it. So.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
Brady.
you.
All right, Mike, you are up.
Hello everyone, my name is Mike Hackett, I'm the secondary roads engineer. I also have Cole Kearns here with me today, who is the assistant to the engineer. I'll have him come in here on the backside and have some technical questions that are asked. First of all, I want to thank you for letting me on the agenda here to speak. I specifically want to talk about a contract that we have put together for the replacement of our fuel systems that we have here in the county. We've kind of talked about this a little bit before. We have a fuel system that does all the secondary roads equipment. We also serve the ambulance here in the county and the Winterset Police, Sheriff, and a lot of the other entities of the county run fuel through this system. We have agreements with them, 2080 agreements to make that work out. It's a revolving account, so everybody that uses it pays for the system. The system is quite old. It's 42 years old. It needs to be replaced. It's been quite a project to put that together, and I'm very grateful that Cole was here to help with this. It was budgeted in the FY25 and this coming FY26. This project was advertised through the AGC and Iowa DOT for a May 2nd, 2025 letting that we had here. There were 7 plan holders of the project. 4 of those plan holders came to our required pre-bid meeting to look at the site and ask specification questions. We received 2 bids for the project. One of the bids had to be rejected because it was not submitted in a timely fashion. So there was a time deadline The low bid was $583,339.87, and that was Seneca Companies of Des Moines, Iowa. Okay. The bid was within 14.6% of the engineer's estimate, and I would recommend that we go forward with this project.
14% higher or lower?
It was 14% higher. However, with material costs and to relet it and get in for the construction timing, it could be 8 months from now. So, as most of the standard projects that we've had in the past, that's kind of the trends. I won't, if you remember my hour and 15-minute speech the last time I was up here about the cost of construction, that's kind of the way things are going in this environment that we're in today.
So if we approve this, it locks in this price and
Yes,
it can't
that's right.
go up?
That's right.
Oh,
And it's already in the budget.
yeah.
Yes, it's been budgeted, yes, it's actually was in FY '25 and this coming FY '26. Again, this'll, hopefully it's split two budgets, but we have to have it in there. And I'd like to have Cole come up, he's got a few things that he'd like to comment about this system. I'll turn that over to Cole, thank you.
Thanks for having me, Cole Kearns, Assistant to the County Engineer. I don't have a whole lot to say, but I will say the system is highly anticipated down at the Secondary Road Department, mainly because we have a great staff that do a lot of work, but they spend a lot of time maintaining and keeping the system up and running. This will save our guys time that they can be spent to do other tasks. Another thing, Mike said that it's a 42-year-old system. I was digging through old records, and this has a life expectancy of 30 years. So we're pretty much on borrowed time with this system, and the insurance kind of reflects that. I was looking to insure our tanks. The new set of tanks are gonna cost us $4,300 a year the new set of tanks are gonna be $2,300. The old set that we currently have is $4,300. That's just because the liability on them is so much higher. So I think that speaks volumes on the need for this system. That's all I really have. If anybody has questions.
I do.
Okay.
Is this the tanks and the lines and everything?
Correct, it's gonna be an overhaul of the whole system, yep. So we'll get 2 new tanks, 2 dispensers, and all new plumbing.
Oh, new pumps too?
New pumps, yep.
Everything is new.
There's a few aspects that we have rebuilt in a few years. As I said, we've had to do quite a bit of maintenance, so there's a few things that we've decided are in good enough condition. They've been replaced in the last 5 years or so. So we're gonna keep those. We salvaged what we felt was salvageable, but we're not gonna keep stuff that isn't performing or is gonna cost us more time to keep it up and running.
So how long will it take to do this, and then what will you guys do for fuel in the meantime?
Okay, good question. We spec'd out a temporary fuel system, so the contractor is gonna set up a temporary fuel system for the county. We will still be able to provide fuel and track fuel the same way that we do now. It'll just be in a temporary location.
Okay, great. How long will it take to?
So we gave them a 6-week maximum time. However, talking with the contractors, that is on the very long end and should not, they make it sound like 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks is what they'll be in and out, so.
Is there a penalty if they go over the 6 week?
Correct,
There
yeah.
is a penalty. Is it a per day penalty or, okay?
Yeah, per day. I think, I have to look back, I think it's, I can't remember, I don't wanna say the dollar amount, but there is a penalty if they're over the contract, what we agreed on.
So it's huge incentive to get it done.
To get it done, yeah, exactly. We don't wanna be down any longer than we have to be.
Is the temporary fuel system gonna be at the same location?
It'll be just to the south of our current, location. It's in our yard. We're gonna clear some pipe out of the way and it'll be 200 feet south, yeah.
Great.
So the ambulances and everybody can just drive up.
Correct, yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I've got to add a couple things to that. Like most road contracts that we let, either through the DOT or local letting like this, we use a liquid damages schedule that the DOT helps us with based on the amount of the project. So they have X amount of days to complete. They have actually a completion date they have to meet. If they do not meet that completion date, it's $1,000 a day for every day they go over.
And who's that paid to, DOT or us?
No, that's paid to us.
Oh,
So that's the way we like to do the contracts.
so they won't do that.
The other thing to note here, is we go through about 330,000 gallons of diesel fuel a year. It's kind of our main consumption for the road system. It's very, we have a gas station because we can control what we put in our equipment. When weather changes and we have to operate in severe low temperatures, we definitely need the fuel blended correctly so we can run our equipment. The other thing that's also important with that is the warranties that we are asking for with the equipment purchases, the newer equipment. It's important that we make sure we document the right fuel that's going in those things, so the warranties aren't voided out through the manufacturers. So that's one reason why we have our station there, is because we can control what's going on with the products, and we can blend the fuel accordingly for cold weather or warm weather.
Now you buy all fuel for all the counties, so you're probably contracting a much cheaper price.
Right.
because you-
So what we do, and I won't take much more time on this, if anybody else has any more specific questions, they can contact me in the hallway afterwards. But what we do is we watch fuel prices through the year, and we take bids on tanker loads, which is anywhere from 7,500 gallons to 8,000 gallons, to have we take competitive bid from direct suppliers from the pipeline, and then have it delivered to our system. So we monitor to that. So I won't take any more of your time. If anybody else has any other questions, you guys are always welcome to call me or contact me. And I have to say the same thing with any of the public that wishes to speak about that. I'm always available. Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on now to public comment. Go ahead and come up front and state your name and the town you're from. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Whoever wants to speak, we'll do the folks in the room first, and then if there's anybody on the phone, we will take those comments afterwards. So whoever wishes to speak, go ahead and jump up.
Good evening, Vicky Brenner, Winterset, Iowa. My comments today are in reference to the resignation of Auditor Kaczynski, which according to her resignation letter will be effective on July 4th, 2025. I am requesting the board urge her to resign effective immediately. I am aware that you have actually no control over that. While the payment to Bergman's RMG consulting firm is still under investigation, it has come to light that connections exist among Supervisor Stancil, Craig Bergman, Auditor Kaczynski, County Attorney Swanson, Leslie Beck, and the local Republican Party. Auditor Kaczynski states in her letter, quote, "This local conservative movement does not end with me," end quote. Personally, as a citizen of Madison County, all I care about is an elected official being able to do the job, not that they are part of some political movement. This entire scheme has been misguided from the very beginning and has become a liability, costing the taxpayers of Madison County money and its reputation. If Auditor Kaczynski is allowed to stay on until July 4th, she will cost the taxpayers of Madison County over $13,000 in salary. By staying until July 4th, she'll get another 40-hour week of pay, including a month of health care and benefits. Why should she be allowed to suck 2 more months of salary and benefits from hardworking taxpayers? We are tired of the incompetence and sketchy dealings. Most of all, we are tired of those who refuse to take responsibility for the mess they have created. It is laughable that after running a toxic campaign against the former auditor, disparaging her character and exposing her family to abuse, that Auditor Kaczynski expected the former auditor to roll out the transitional red carpet for her. She had multiple tools she could have utilized. She had an elections deputy with years of service and a first deputy with 5 years of knowledge that she never sat down and discussed the functions of the office with. People within the office offered to help, and instead she created such a toxic environment, coupled with incompetence, they could no longer withstand the pressure of working in that office while she was constantly in closed-door meetings with Supervisor Stancil, day after day trying to facilitate whatever plot they had hatched before Kaczynski was ever elected. Supervisor Stancil has stated multiple times that she doesn't know what department heads do, so for her to say she was just trying to help the auditor seems contradictory. This has all been a self-inflicted wound. So please stop scapegoating and playing the blame game. You all made this mess, and you're mad at a group of citizens for asking questions and exposing it all. Auditor Kaczynski has been a liability from the start, and when the dust settles and the entire truth comes out, it will go a long way with public opinion if she starts making amends now by stepping down immediately. I thank you for your time, and I would like you to receive and file this, please.
Do I have a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All, any discussion? All in favor, please vote aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Michele, Brandt, Earlham, Iowa. I want to start out by thanking you for being willing to listen to my concerns about the meeting minutes. Of course, it's something near and dear to my heart. I have not received yet an answer. I brought into public comment at the March, I believe, 25th meeting about concerns with sort of subtle changes in how we're doing the minutes. We're not seeing this week, we're not reporting the towns that people are calling from or where we're from, so I think that should be put back on there. So we do know what representation we have for folks who are actually being listened to and talked with at the public comments. So these decisions that are slowly kind of infiltrating the way we're doing minutes and the approvals, I would like to know how those decisions were made and who made them. Michele got right back to me, so I appreciate that. We need to make sure that we are, again, this is gonna seem nitpicky, but I've offered to help, and I continue to offer to help. But our public hearings really do need times that we enter into public hearings and times that we exit public hearings. And the reason that's important is that when we go to seek that information down the road, as I experienced myself, it's really important to have those things searchable and accountable. So the last thing I'd like to mention is, I don't see anything on the agenda here, but my curiosity, and this is a comment and a question, is I'd like to know what the plans are for posting for the auditor's position. I don't see anything on the website for that. And I'm assuming we're gonna handle it like we did with the county attorney, where we post for that job, and then we'll go to appointment from there. Also, if we could get an update on the status of the treasurer. I know the hearing was moved to July 17th, and I think I just would like some confirmation that we're not going to pay the treasurer through the 17th of July. And I don't need an answer now, but if it could be on the next agenda so we could talk about it and you could provide some updates for us. Thank you.
Who else would like to comment? Okay, anyone on the phone wish to comment? Okay, all right, I'm gonna go close public comment unless someone jumps up really quickly. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to resolutions for consideration. First resolution is approving a subcontract agreement for the Earlham Historic Commercial District grant. This is, you guys have it in your packet. Basically, this is the next step for the grant. So we need to approve that as a pass-through. So that's why it's on here. Did you, either of you have any questions on that? No. Very excited about that. Looking forward to seeing that to fruition. So I will entertain a motion to approve the subcontract agreement for the Earlham Historic Commercial District grant.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And thank you, Colleen Peterson, for all
Yes.
the hard work.
Yes, Colleen, also thank you for being persistent and making sure we stayed on track with that. So if you were on the phone, thank you very much. Okay, going on to, next resolution is, Mike, is he still here? Mike, is the agreement with the trust, is that also a work agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
It is, okay.
A, B, C are all work agreements.
Okay, so would the board be opposed to approving all those as a block?
Yeah, that would,
So the 325A, 325B, and 325C?
so
Yes.
moved.
Do I have a motion to do
Yeah,
that?
so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please vote, any discussion?
No.
All right, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next one is approving the fuel system replacement contract. Mike and Cole just did a great presentation on this. So, I'll entertain a motion to approve that. It is in our budget.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Moving on to approving the tile line repair on Carver Road. Mike, did you have anything to say about this?
No,
Mike, is it just, what is it, culvert or tile?
this one actually was a tile line that crosses the road.
So it's tile, drainage tile?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
drainage tile. We're obligated to do that.
Okay,
Code
thanks.
of Iowa.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the tile line repair on Carver Road.
So moved. That's okay, I'll second it.
All right, and any discussion? All right, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. The next one is applications for license permits and cancellations. You'll notice the first one is the application to use the Madison County grounds for Winterset Farmers Market. The reason why this is on here, because we've approved it once before, they wanted to make a change. They want to bring small farm animals.
Oh.
So, and it's gonna be on the north side, I think, in the street. I'm hoping they've already talked to the city about that. But in case they meander into our grounds, they also wanted to, use sidewalk chalk on our sidewalk. If it was just a sidewalk chalk, I wouldn't have a problem. I'd say yes, but the farm animals thing, I wanted to bring it to the board to make sure you guys were okay with that.
Point of clarification on that, I'm paging down to that document, but it stated that they had spoken previously with the city regarding the food trucks, but it didn't say specifically they had spoken with the city regarding the animals.
Right. So that's they have to make sure the city approves that.
Okay, I just wanna make
So
sure.
I'll
that-
reiterate with that, we can only approve our grounds.
Yeah.
We can't approve what the city has.
Yeah.
So I'll reiterate with them that this is just for the county grounds. They have to seek a permit from the city, I'm
Okay.
assuming, I don't know what their rules are.
Yeah,
For that, if
that's what I
they
just
wanna do.
wanted to make sure, yeah. But otherwise, I'm really excited about it, having the kids sidewalk chalk art, I think is fabulous, and the animals, it's great.
As long as they clean up the manure.
Yes.
I mean, as I said,
Yeah.
if it's little baby goats or sheep, I don't care, but if it's baby calf or horse, they need to clean up the manure. Or shovel it in our flowers, I guess.
Chip, just wanna make sure you're okay with that, because technically under our rules of procedure, you have to be okay with it as well, so you okay with that? Okay, all right. Okay, so then I will entertain a motion to reapprove the application for the farmer's market, with request, to add on the slight changes from the original application.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. The next one is approving application for fireworks display for Tony Wenck at 704 North 4th Avenue, Winterset on May 17th. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Going on to board member reports. Who wants to go first?
Jess, you. Had a lot of meetings, with county employees and electeds. Had a fabulous tour of the conservation building. And then actually that was followed up at a later date with the REAP committee meeting, Resource Enhancement and Protection, to preserve our natural resources. So very informative. I'm glad to be engaged with that and to continue to learn more about the good works that all those folks do. Had several facility issues, and we have some ongoing facility issues that we'll be discussing going forward at later dates. But then we've also, of course, we've got, final budget hearing scheduled that we set a date for. I'm not sure if you were gonna reference that, but it's all about all I have for my stuff. So here.
I attended HERDA, and we had a special meeting, and then I had a chamber meeting, CCOG, and then another special meeting. I have a lot of meetings coming up.
Yeah. Y'all have a lot of special meetings.
Yes.
Anything
A lot of
else?
special meetings, no.
Okay. So in addition, I was in those special meetings because they were board meetings. I had a meeting with the conversation or call with Colleen with the Historical Society about the grant. Had a couple calls with Solutions, which we'll talk about later on the agenda. Board of Health meeting, where they talked about various different things, including vaccination stuff. And just for you, because I know you're working on that, they did say that they can get a smaller refrigerator because they're gonna be, they don't give as many vaccines, so they don't need that big, huge refrigerator.
There is a small one, I sorry to interrupt, there is a small one that CICS can't remember where it came from, and they're gonna need it.
It has to be approved by,
Well, maybe we could see if it could be approved.
yeah, so I'll mention that to the chair, but,
See if it can.
but they were saying that they don't, because they don't go through as many vaccines, they can move a lot of vaccines to Warren County, where we have a 2080 agreement with, and then when they come, they can give some vaccines, and then using a smaller refrigerator, we don't require the $75,000 changes for utilities to that office, so that will save some costs. I'm sure that's gonna be fleshed out a little bit more, but they had a conversation about that, so just as an FYI, if you want, because I know you're working on that, if you wanna follow up with that.
Yep.
Covered bridge preservation, Mike, this is something that came up, this week. They are doing banners with a QR code with the chamber to raise money. So when the chamber does events and stuff like that, they can just scan it with their QR code and they can give money right there. So as you guys know, our bridges are in desperate need of repair. It's been 30 years, so hopefully this generates a lot of revenue for us. Matura, we didn't have a meeting, but Matura's open house is coming up on May 28th from 10 to noon. I will not be able to attend that because I will be out of town, but I encourage either one of you guys to attend that.
The one out here?
Yeah.
Oh, all right, when is it?
The 28th from 10 to noon. And the last thing is CICS. I know we'll talk about this a little bit further on our agenda, but I had a call with them. I wanted to find out who's kind of taking over, since as of June 30th, they will no longer be here. The Iowa Primary Care Association is going to be taking over for the mental health services for the county. They won the bid with the state. As you guys know, that the state now is kind of controlling that. So I have not heard from them yet. According to their website, they're supposed to reach out by the middle of May with more information. So I don't know what that looks like, so to be continued on that. And that is all I have for reports. Any old business that needs to be discussed?
You requested that I got more bids for
Oh,
the
yes.
public health. I reached out to commercial appraisers in West Des Moines. Their bid was $4,200. And then I reached out to Nelson, and I've got the bids here, and theirs was $2,900. So
Okay.
the banks were correct, Raleigh's is, and theirs was incredibly thorough. So
Okay.
there you go, and I have them when we're ready to pursue that.
When do you wanna do that?
Let's get through budgets
Okay,
and maybe get some things settled out. I think
okay, maybe in
calm
July?
down, yeah.
Okay,
And maybe have a specific work session with the three of us to start
talk about
talking
it.
through it.
okay, cause you'll have more
Cause
information.
I'll have
then.
more information, yeah, from
Yeah.
my end too, and so we can kind of gather and
Okay.
start sorting through it. Does that sound fair to everybody?
Yeah,
I think that'd
and
be
when we
good.
get down to CICS, I'll tell you what I learned today, but, okay, yeah,
Okay.
sounds good, but there, I've got the bids, so they're in
Okay.
here and they're ready to go. All we do is get them.
For
to go.
just the
appraisal.
For the Board of Health, for the
Just the
public
public
health.
health. Conservation's on their own. Their stuff has been turned over and they've gotten, they're gonna have to use a lawyer. So they're
because-
working, yeah, theirs is more complicated.
Okay, all right,
And then their board can handle
okay. All right, any other old business? Okay. All right, new business, replacement of Annex entrance doors. Did you want to talk about that?
I placed the bids up there for you guys.
it. Is that 53,000, those are,
New slider doors.
sliders, so if they push a button, they'll open for them?
They'll have a sensor that the sensor will actually open.
Oh,
Will it have a manual override in case we lose power?
The cheaper bid is just new hardware and refurbishing the old doors.
Okay. But these will make it to where they're ADA compliant?
Yes.
Okay. And how long would it take for them to do that, a day?
Well, if you guys approve, replacement doors will be a 3 to 5 day window, but the issue now is what's going on with all the cost of that. The sooner we get it ordered, we can lock this bid in. If we wait a few months out, this is gonna go up tremendously.
So do we, and this is gonna be, we're gonna use lost funds for this?
I figured if we carry this over to the new year, we can use building grounds for this building.
Okay. But if they do it in this budget year, we'd have to,
We don't have it in this budget year.
so what you can do is, we can get the resolution for the next regular meeting, you can lock this
You guys
into.
approve, I can lock this price in and get it out,
Okay.
because we're still looking at a 12 to 14 week window of getting
Oh,
to the
okay.
house.
okay, so it'll go into the next budget year?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. So before we, and I told you this before, normally before we have a discussion before we do a resolution. So what is the board consensus? Do we wanna,
I have more questions. So did you get other bids for these doors?
No.
Just this
This
company?
company.
Don't we have to, over a certain amount, aren't we required to bid it up?
it's, yeah, it's normal policy. Is that something that you can do?
It's, we could get more risk and delay the process, and that's something that we just used the meal side, which we didn't do the multiple bid process for.
Well, I think that, because of this cost, I think, you're correct, Jess. I think we probably should do the due diligence and get a couple more bids.
You could have 2 more bids ready before the next resolution, the next meeting, that we
Yeah.
could do a resolution, because you could send it to us.
Because we can also leave the name blank and the amount blank
Yeah,
in the resolution, so then if you bring in additional bids, we can
Sure.
do that. Okay, so 2 weeks? Okay.
Are
Hey,
there,
thank you.
do you know of a lot more companies, or is that,
I'll have to research it.
oh, okay, there's not a lot.
I'm sure there's more companies that do
Yeah,
this.
I do not, I had before.
So, just a quick question for you, for the manual override, is that a key, or what would it be?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
So
and-
it's like the courthouse, that little box thing? Okay.
And would that be something that, it would just be with buildings and grounds, or would there be multiple keys? Would the main building have a key and,
We could have multiple keys, that would be for direction for you guys.
okay, alright. Does that include, does this price include that in here?
Yes.
The keys?
Yeah.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Alright,
It's not like what we got going on now for a key and the doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had.
this is a much easier,
Yes.
Yeah, and how
Yeah.
many keys does this include, do you know?
No, probably just a couple, but
Yeah.
it'll be easy to get.
Yeah.
It's not security keys like what we're dealing with now.
it would only be a key to override it if we lose
Yes.
power. It wouldn't be a key to lock it.
Exactly.
Okay, alright, thank you for clarification. Alright, so, he's gonna get more bids, so it sounds like to me that the consensus of the board is, this is something we wanna do, we just wanna make sure we get a couple more bids.
I think it's a necessity.
Yeah.
And Chip, we need to talk to you about that BTWI.
Yeah,
Pardon me?
that's the next thing on the agenda is the BTWI.
Yes.
Okay. So, the installment of internet services in the top of the courthouse.
Hello,
Hello.
my name is Michele from the BTWI Wireless Internet. We are a local wireless internet company, actually based out of Membrane currently, but started in 2009 in Perry. We were at a Earlham City Council meeting, and spoke with Ryan Marquardt, the
Marquardt.
the executive director of the Madison County Development Group. He said there was a need for quality high-speed internet down around the courthouse. And so with Chip's help, we looked to see if that was something we'd be able to do. And we're very confident that we could make that happen, bring in our equipment and be able to serve the courthouse and really start there and all the different departments and work our way out as far as who needs high-speed internet. So the first step was just getting approval for the equipment to be up there and go from there, so.
So is this line of sight?
We can do both. We can do line of sight or non-line of sight depending on which equipment, so.
And is it like a microwave wireless, or is it, what kind of wireless is it?
You know, that's a great question. My technical guy slash brother is right there. He's the owner of the company. But I was wearing the shirt, so that's.
Okay. You gotta advertise.
Sure, I'll pose a question. Microwave?
Is it, what kind of wireless is it?
We use multiple different frequencies. Baseband microwave would be probably the most common way to refer to it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's kind of my previous life, telecom engineer, so.
Oh, yeah?
I'm very curious in how that works.
Sure.
So what kind of bandwidth can you offer?
One of the technology we use can do up to gigabit, and the other one can do up to 500 meg. The non-line of sight is 500, and the line of sight is gigabit.
Okay, so, so is this something that it'd be mostly for residential or business,
They can
or?
do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you throttle it all based on usage?
No.
Okay,
There's no usage, no data caps, no throttling.
okay. And then, and how do you determine when you need to upgrade?
When the demand exceeds what our product, our equipment can handle.
Okay.
So
Okay, so do you wait?
we graph it, and we constantly
graph,
watch
okay.
how much people are using, and if we have reports that, certain software that we have gives us, it tells us like down to the individual sector, where the utilization is, and we start to see it over 50%, we start upgrading.
Okay, so is this something that you wanna put on the top of the dome?
Well, that, I haven't been there personally.
Okay.
He asked me to come along to the technical side, so
Okay.
I'm a little patient.
Yeah, so, we can do a couple different things. We can actually, should be able to work, shoot it through the clock faces or even up where the pillars are. Looks like there's already some equipment up there.
Mhm.
So we could do the, what's that?
So I should have known, we're gonna clean that up.
Yeah,
Lots of it
and
was
there's
left
a lot
up
of stuff
there.
that's been left up there from other providers.
Okay.
That's just up there. And so we can clean that all up then.
So you're gonna be up in the dome?
Not all the way up to the tippy top, but there's the columns that are at the top right below the dome.
Where the clock faces are?
Yeah.
So, for lack of a better term, what's in it for us? Do we get free internet? Or is that something we negotiate? We can talk about that.
Definitely works right now.
Yes.
We're looking to save money in our budget, so,
You bet.
yeah, okay. So, tell me a little bit, if this is something that we wanna investigate further, what's the next step?
So, it really started with approval. We already checked the line of sight and were able to make that equipment work and work well. So this was the next step, was getting approval to be up there, and then once we are able to do that, then we can look at ordering all the equipment, and set up a time for install.
Okay.
And then you'll give us a price.
Well, we can talk through all that before, but
We'll have to talk through that before.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 0.
As long as we have, how many locations are we looking at, what are they needing? I guess we need to know that.
So, all kidding aside, obviously this is a historical building. So this is not something we can just jump into. So we probably have to talk to our historical society and look at the structure and see exactly what kind of equipment you guys wanna bring up there, that kind of stuff. So, this is interesting, you know, especially if they could bring an additional provider to our residents, cause we get a lot of complaints, including ourselves, we have issues, so it'd be good to have someone else in there. So I think that I'm open to further exploration. What do you guys think?
I am. There was a lady in today, my background is not in telecommunications, it's in medicine and agriculture, so I'm way out there. But, there was a lady in today, they did Husky Cleanup Day, and she was taking all kinds of pictures and wanted to send them to the newspaper and could not connect in our courthouse anywhere. Will this solve that?
Yeah, we could actually set up like an outdoor Wi-Fi for around, the courthouse and around the square. We currently have that set up in, Earlham, at the tennis courts areas. And we do farm progress shows, so we have, yes.
So you can.
Was that inside the building or outside?
Inside.
Probably because of masonry walls.
She tried standing by the window, she tried standing by my desk, cause we can usually receive, but she could not.
We can do both.
Okay.
Can you provide repeaters within the building?
Repeater's a bad word for me, but, cause it doesn't actually repeat, but we can do multiple access points throughout.
Yeah.
That's my
I'm using a
technical
term
brain.
that the
Yeah.
public is probably familiar with.
Sure, that makes sense,
So,
yeah. But yes, we can help set up a Wi-Fi solution. That'd probably be the next step, is going to see what's needed,
Mhm.
and then we can kind of balance out what we're able to help you with, and.
Okay.
So if you put that in the dome, people around the square could ping into that and use it?
Right.
I love that, okay.
And we can even go up there with some examples and just kind of maybe get some pictures of what things might look like, so you can see from an aesthetic view what we'd be doing.
Okay. Well, if the consensus of the board is to kind of look further into this.
I think
Yeah,
she
and
personally-
then would the next step then for you to access specifically and provide, access the space and provide some further data to us regarding what you're proposing and
Yeah.
specifications of equipment?
Yeah, seeing what your
Yeah.
guys' needs are that we can help you out with.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Sounds great.
We'll kind of touch base with historic preservation and make sure we're okay.
So, what's the next thing that you guys require? Just to meet with?
Yeah, probably
one of
just
us,
to get together and kind of talk about what the needs are. And we can bring, equipment and prices, all that kind of fun stuff, and we can kind of hash out what makes sense.
Okay.
And then you can work with Chip, he'll show you
Yeah,
around,
absolutely.
get you out there.
Okay.
Sounds
So,
great.
and I'd like to see it too, because I'll probably have some geek questions to ask, so, yeah, we can speak geek together.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you guys, that's
Thank
great,
you.
that's very
Thank you.
interesting, appreciate it. Okay, next one is the ISAC 99 county tour date request for visit. I think you guys got copied on this email too. Basically, I just put it on there so we can talk about it. They wanted to come and do a presentation, kind of like an open house town hall, and they just wanted dates and times for us. And it doesn't have to be like immediately, it could be in the next year, that's when they're planning. So I don't know if you all had a chance to read over their email, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it sounds great.
Okay.
Do they want like we have that CCOG open house, we have a luncheon, and we have a nice all-day set, do they want that so
I
they can all come?
don't think they cared about, at least that's what I gathered from the email, I don't know if they cared, I mean, we could talk to them about that.
I'll do it if you want it.
That'd be great.
They all come, everybody.
Well, you didn't provide food, everybody.
Everybody comes.
So, since it sounds like you're volunteering for that.
See, that's what happens, you don't learn to keep your mouth shut.
Did you want to be the liaison with ISAC on picking a date?
Yeah, I'll do it.
So, this is what I'm thinking,
Okay.
there's a lot of change coming, so maybe after the November election? Cause they said they're scheduling all year round, unless you guys want it sooner. What do you think?
Okay, waiting till the fall, but,
I kind of wonder if we should go September.
well, yeah, cause then we're kinda pushing it for the holidays and all
Oh, that's
those
true, and then
conflicts.
weather.
And
Yeah,
weather.
you're right.
What if we go October?
Yeah.
It's pretty, there's lots to do.
Should we do October?
I'll see what they say, but
Yeah, that
I'll
sounds
shoot
good
for
to me.
October.
So Diane is the liaison.
Okay, I can do that.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, extended warranty panic buttons. I put this on here because we got a request to, our warranty for the panic buttons that we have, is up. And they wanted to know if they wanted to extend it. The extension includes testing, replacement of batteries, basically all the labor. Otherwise, we would be responsible for that labor. The cost was like $2,410. I didn't know if that was something you guys were interested in doing, having.
So if they don't do it and we have to replace the batteries, how much is it, do you know? maybe we should look into
Well,
see,
yeah, Chip stepped out, but I know he just bought an additional panic button, but I mean, are they even tested yet, the ones we do have? Cause,
They supposedly did a test a couple weeks ago.
yeah, they did, they did.
well,
So-
the last time I asked him, he hadn't done it yet, and that was last week, so.
No, Mitch did it. I thought Mitch did it.
Okay, he's back.
Didn't Mitch do a panic button check?
No.
Have you done one?
No, not yet.
Oh, how much, if we don't do this extended warranty, how much would it cost to put a battery in them? Do you know?
That's what we do when we test them. We put the batteries in.
How much does it cost? Is it cheap, is this $2,410 for them to do it, all the tests? What if we do it? How
Oh,
much?
we do, it's a lot cheaper than that.
Oh, so you can just do
So
it?
what they
Oh.
said, let me just read from their email. It's a proposal to service the system and extend the warranty for an additional 2 years. Includes testing the system and transmitters to ensure they're still operating. Also replace the battery in the main wave unit, all transmitters and repeaters if you have repeaters. So, let's see, we highly recommend, if you don't want the warranty, we highly recommend your system be tested, the battery in the main unit and each transmitter. And each transmitter be replaced every 2 years.
That's what me and Don do. We change the batteries annually every year.
You do? Okay, do you replace it in the wave unit too?
You have to check that out.
Do we know, is that just a regular batteries or is it a special battery? Okay,
So you already do this?
That's what me and Don do for the judge, yes.
Oh, okay.
so you do, when you say for the judge, do you do it for everybody else, like at the Annex and Public Health? Okay, all right. So, I don't know if you were copied on this. Did you get this? I'm gonna forward this to you, maybe look it over and give the board your opinion, if you'd be okay with that? Okay, so,
So the warranty covered the batteries, but we've been replacing them,
yes,
so we've got some overlap.
Yep.
Okay. So Chip, you're gonna follow up so we can make sure we clarify what's what, who's covering what, so we don't have to pay for batteries we're already paying for twice.
Yeah.
Can you kind of give us a rough cost of what the batteries do cost? That's probably much cheaper.
Well, they're an expensive lithium battery, but if you do all of them, it's a couple $100
Oh.
annually.
yeah, I think it's just the
Yeah.
testing and all that kind of stuff, and the labor.
But if you're already doing it, you and Don.
Yeah, each one, we call it, Don calls into the dispatch, we make sure it's working, but we change the batteries
Okay,
annually.
thank you.
All right, I'm forwarding that to you now. Okay. All right, next one, the CICS withdrawal. So I put this on here because as you guys know, June 30th, they'll no longer be in our county. But CICS is a 2080 agreement, and according to the terms of the 2080 agreement, even though they're not gonna be servicing our county after June 30th, we're still gonna be in the 2080, even though we really don't get a lot of benefit from it. So we are required, under the 2080 language, to a formal request to remove ourselves from the 2080, but we have to give them 6 months' notice.
Yeah.
So, so we can either do that, like on, effective January 1 of 2026, or we could be, effective June 30th of 2026. So they sent a template of language to use to be removed. But I wanted to talk it over with you guys to see if you feel there's any benefit to staying on through June of next year. Otherwise, I'm gonna recommend that we terminate the 2080 effective January 1. And the reason why we're waiting till January 1, because even though they're not here past the 30th, there's still paperwork and filings and reports and financial reports that they're still required to do. So that's why they want people to stay in through the end of the year.
Can we still use them if, not after not after June 30th?
They are no longer the provider for our county. The folks that are is, let's see, Iowa Primary Care Association. They're the ones that won the bid. Now, what we can do, and they did say in their meeting that we should, other members wish to contract work with them, we can certainly do that. But no, they are not gonna be our mental health provider nor our disability provider, so.
I'd probably go to January 1 and then just end it. I did talk with Betsy today, she was here. They're starting to clean out, they're going to leave everything, it sounds like, all that new furniture. And there are, just so you know, I cleaned that third story, at floor, when I first came in the courthouse. There were lots of very sensitive, very old medical records. And I didn't think that was a good place, so I gave them up in the balcony,
The room above the old,
above the
The door that's
courtroom.
unlocked a lot,
Yes.
left unlocked a lot, yep, I know which one you're talking
And
about.
I was up there with my daughter-in-law, and she said, and she's a nurse, and she said, well, you can't have this up here. So I took it to CICS, and they put them in locked files. Well, some of them are 50 and 60 years, even older.
we can shred them.
That's what we're doing. So we're going to clean them all out, and we're going to shred all of that. We just don't want that around. I think it's just something needs to be gone. Plus, the retention life of all of it is over.
Yeah.
Then she said, they're going to leave virtually everything, and that's really good furniture.
So they said that, cause I asked her earlier, today about that. They said the only other big items they plan to take out are the fridge, microwave, and one of the stand-up desks. Everything else will remain as it is either Madison County property or is bought between a split between the CICS funds and the general assistance funds, which is Madison
Now,
County.
this morning, she didn't know about the fridge. Did she change?
This was at 427.
Oh, so they
today.
must have found it must belong to somebody.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they're not gonna take, they're gonna be taking the fridge.
Okay.
So, so FYI to Port of Health, still have to get a small little fridge.
Okay.
So yeah, and then she mentioned to me about the records.
Yep, we've got that all taken care of. Chip brought up boxes, so we'll pack them up and we'll shred them.
So, regarding the disability, point of contact for our district, District 5, that is gonna be, Polk County. They were awarded the bid for that, so we'll be going through them for, disability services. So, so FYI, so I'm hoping in the next month or two, we get more information on both of these new providers. But right now,
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, something we can share, so we have the contact information if somebody needs the resource.
Yeah, we don't have, the moving to the state thing is brand new, so I think they're still trying to get their sea legs,
Yeah.
and I don't know where they're at on that, so hopefully we'll have more information. Okay, so, the last thing on, the agenda for new business was the onboarding checklist regarding IT. I sent this to you guys because there's two things on there that, the supervisors probably need to decide. I asked our current auditor, and she deferred to us to make the decision. One was, how we wanted to do the IT liaison, and what that is just a physical body, if they need someone to unplug something and plug it in. They said that it could be a dedicated person per building, it could be a dedicated person per department, or it can be, a single person that's,
The way it was before we hired Jen was Jeff Nichols did it. We paid him $5,000 a year. And if we needed, when I first started, he got the computer, he received it, checked it out, he did it all. And we paid him an extra $5,000 a year, but he couldn't fix anything. So you'd have to have go through solutions, and sometimes it was pretty darn slow. That was when we first started. That's why we hired Jen. But, we picked one person, they received everything, if they could kinda hook it up, kind of on your own, and often you had to call Solutions
well,
and try to figure it out.
it's different now, because we have a completely different plan.
Well, but you still got a one person to get the
We have to have one
computers.
person, because they can't remotely plug it into the wall, clearly. So what they wanted is, there's two things that they wanted to do. They wanted, how we wanted to set the liaison. They said ideally, it'd be good to have one designated person per building, who's willing to do that. And then also the second thing they wanted is for new and replacement hardware. Right now, everything that's ordered goes to IT, and they said that we could do it that way, to where we go this liaison, or we can give authority to department heads to when if they need new computers, that they receive it, and then they are in charge of calling Solutions to do that. So, those are items 5 and 7 on that onboarding checklist. We don't necessarily have to make a decision now, but this is something we're gonna have to to get them, that information.
I think you should have a meeting with department heads and kind of ask their thoughts.
Well, I can certainly, I mean, I don't think we need a meeting, I can send an email, but,
I think the board needs a meeting to talk through this and how, and just the process, timeline, making sure we have all the different categories covered, what this looks like. I would like to have a special meeting with us
okay.
to talk about that and what this is gonna look like myself.
Okay. So the other things on the checklist is basically, it's just, stuff that they requested from Jen, that she needs to provide them to do the transition.
So then they're on their site visit, are you going to coordinate and be the representative as far as being present for their site visit, or who would that person be?
Well, that would be another question. They wanna make a site visit and either you walk through it with Jen, ideally, and so, you know, see where everything is and, you know, that kind of stuff. It could be Jen and me.
That's
So-
what I would prefer, please.
Okay.
How much they gonna charge? If they're gonna charge you for it, they're not.
No, this
Come
is
down
part,
here.
no, this is part of the process. It's included in the package. So, so anyway, so yeah, so we can certainly have a meeting and do that, so we can talk about that, if that is the board's wish. We can go through this if you want, but I wanted to send this to you because there's two items that is something that we have to decide if, because currently IT reports to the auditor, and the auditor, our current auditor is deferred to us on making this decision, since, you know, she won't be here past, July 4th.
So should we go ahead and schedule a meeting to review that, and then in the meantime, you know, I'll be engaging the department heads, I'm sure you both will, we can ask their thoughts, so we'll have that feedback before we even meet regarding having, the equipment sent direct to
Would
them.
we just invite them to the meetings?
We could do that too, yeah, that's fine.
Just let them discuss how they think.
Okay, so, we can go ahead and do that. Let's do it out a little bit because, well, time is getting short because they wanna have those site things, cause, they said to June 3rd and 4th or June 10th and 11th. And Jen's last day is the 13th of June. So this is something where, for the site visits, we don't necessarily, this could be separate from the meetings, but, what do you guys think on that? What does your schedule look like?
I need to defer to, when am I gone in June?
4th through 8th or 9th.
4th through the 8th or 9th. Okay, so I'm gone June 4th through 8th or 9th, so if you have to do it without me, you can.
Well, for this initial, we could do
Well,
that maybe even like. the end of this-
What we can do is we can always send out an email initially to the department heads, get the initial feedback. And if the feedback is consistent on what they want, then we can just meet, or how you guys wanna do that?
Well, Diane was making faces, so I'll let her. Well, it didn't seem like you were.
So.
Well, I'm thinking.
Okay,
So
I wanna make sure that we're hearing you.
So I will be gone from the 28th through the 6th. So the first week of June is not gonna work for me. And the last week of May, won't work. So what about next week? What do you guys, or even,
The sooner the better, in my opinion.
I would set this up simple. I would just ask all department heads, I'd set up the meeting and ask them to come and we'll hash this out.
okay, so we already have a placeholder on Tuesday mornings.
Tuesday the
So what
20th,
about the Tuesday the 20th?
that works for me, I can
Okay.
make that work.
Um,
Diane, will you?
Yeah, we have the assessor board meeting that night, you know, at 6, the 20th, so what time?
So I think our placeholder was it 9:30?
I think that would work for them too, 9:30, so
Okay.
we'll have a special meeting and it'll be all department heads to discuss,
How they wanna do their IT liaison, do they want someone dedicated that runs around, or do they want someone in each of their departments? And then the second one is for new or replacement hardware, Do we want to give the department's heads the power to get quotes, because obviously, you know, it's gonna be coming out of their budget. So however we wanna do it, I have a feeling more than likely they'll wanna continue the way it is to where there's a, you know, the hardware goes to one spot. But they may want it, they may say, hey, drop ship it to us because it's all set up. They just need to have solutions we load in and make it up for that, for the new person that needs the hardware.
So how do we receive like UPS shipments and packages as it stands now? Cause that's probably how they're gonna send them, right, is via UPS or some other carrier, it's not gonna be through the mail.
No.
So how do we receive
They
those
come,
packages
if
now?
I'm there in the morning, they come into our office and say, where's so-and-so, and I tell them, and they go drop it off in their office.
The delivery driver just kinda wanders
just
around the
asks.
courthouse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Until somebody finds
Poor
him.
guy. Okay, alright, I just wanna understand that as I'm thinking through this, so.
So we can hash this out. So Kayla can send this out to all the department heads, all of them, and they can come. Maybe we could even set up questions on specific things they need to know. Okay.
So, Michele, would you mind setting up a meeting just for us and basically all the department heads, and we can have a meeting for that? Okay.
We didn't check with you, does that work for your schedule?
So the 20th at 9:30 a.m. here. Okay. All right, the last thing on the agenda is the 2025 priorities, ordinance review and update. I don't know if we have an update on ordinances. I know they've just started that, so I have not heard anything on that. I do want to bring up that the solar moratorium is coming up. So, I think we approved it July 9th of last year. And what that is it put a moratorium to where we're not well, I shouldn't say moratorium because there's actually an ordinance that we can't. But, so where we're not gonna be permitting for any solar stuff until we want to give us time to update the ordinance, because our previous county attorney had some concerns about some of the language in our current ordinance. So that is coming up, so either we can extend it out again another 12 months, or where I'm more inclined is just extend it out until zoning has a chance to update our ordinances overall. So, I already sent an email to Ryan on this, ask him what his thoughts were. It'd be better just to do 12 months, or should we do it to pending updating of the ordinances, ask him to work on these ordinances first?
If you do it pending updating the ordinances, that would drag it out. If you do 12 months and they're not done, then they have open windows. So I would
Just extend it out 12 months or maybe 18 months? 18 months?
because that's,
I'm
isn't
not
that on
comfortable
the,
doing 2 years
isn't that on the House floor? Aren't they discussing that?
regarding,
Well, see, I'm worried about this and,
well, that's separate.
I know it's separate, but I
So-
know it's,
Yeah, well, this is to where, you know, whether or not they can, build a solar farm here. My also concern, I told Brian about this, is disposal of the solar stuff. We have a separate ordinance for the disposal of wind turbine parts. We can't put them in our landfill, you can't bury them, you can't just store them on your property, all that kind of, cause it's environmental issues. So right now we have that for wind, but I think we should have something for solar too. So,
we have a policy at the landfill, but we were told that if they take them all down, that the DNR can override all of our ordinances and policies and force us to take them.
well,
I hope that is not true, but that is what we were told.
I don't know if that's true, but that would be a PR disaster for them if they did that.
Disaster, because it would ruin our land.
So, and then, but, no, we're not gonna talk about that, we're not gonna think about that right now, cause that just.
Do we have in our ordinance regarding data centers, anything about data centers? Close friend who's a county supervisor in another county is dealing with that issue. And I think they call it a micro data center or something.
Is it because of the use of their water, of the water?
that, and the neighbors don't want it. But it's quite the conflict that's going on, so I immediately jumped there, cause there's a lot of similarities with these other ordinances that you're talking about, and I'm just trying to think future of what could come up.
Send that concern to Ryan, and he puts it down, and he has to add into the ordinances, to check into it. I just send him
Yeah.
stuff all the time, and that's what he adds in.
I'll talk
Also
to him.
too, the battery storage,
Yeah.
Yes.
cause those are talk that they have problems
They have a lot of toxic ones.
with when they catch on fire. It's like, anyway. So put that on your radar,
I
for
will.
that, if, now I'll hear, if I hear back from Ryan, I'll forward to the board what he says, or I'll just ask him to copy the board with his response, and then see what he thinks we should do, either just a simple extension, or do it to a contingent on, and then we'll just have to work on doing that, because it's technically an ordinance, there's a notification requirements in the paper, so it takes a little bit longer to do rather than a normal resolution, so keep that in mind. We don't want there to be a gap between not having one and not having one. So that'll probably be something that we'll have on the agenda maybe in June sometime.
Can I go back and ask you a question on this, IT? For all ordering things, it's in their, each department's budget, correct?
Well, technically it's in the IT budget right now.
So that will be split up between,
So that we would have to, if we decide to make it to where the department head kind of controls, getting the quote and ordering, then we could always move that, what the current charges are in the IT budget to each of the individual. Like for instance, if they know they're gonna be hiring a new person, do they need a new laptop? Or can they reuse an existing laptop? So if they can reuse an existing laptop, Solutions just needs to remote into it, and update.
No cost.
Yeah, for no cost. But if they, say for instance, if it's a bad laptop or it's on its last legs, and we have to drop ship a new laptop, then that would be something where we need a human body to, allow Solutions to have access to it, so they can do what they need to do,
so we have to amend the budgets to include this, or?
No, right now, I believe, there's 25,000 in the budget for new equipment, cause we upped it.
I want to
For
say it was
fiscal year.
20, and we increased it
We
maybe a
increased
little
it.
bit too, but
So
I would have to confirm
But this
that.
would only be if they needed new equipment.
Yeah, I understand.
So if we can reuse existing equipment, then that's not something that we need to worry about. So, the other option is to, in Delaware County, who they have to manage services, there's someone in the auditor's office who's the same point of contact for that. So, that's something we can discuss further. I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that, the auditor deferred those decisions to us, given the circumstances. So, something for you guys to chew on and think about. But we have a meeting on the 20th, or we're gonna have a meeting on the 20th, and we'll discuss it further, on that.
So I have one more, just quick question for the board. There was on the claims, there were claims for Board of Supervisors office supplies for $373.
Yeah, what was that?
That's what I wasn't sure.
I do not know.
So, yeah, I was trying to get my hands around why we would need any office supplies, cause I can't seem to find a darn pen every time I look for one, so.
So what we can do is, ask the auditor's office for a copy of that receipt.
We need to find out, because I pay for my own stamps and I buy stuff, so I don't know.
I bet you, I wouldn't be surprised if this was paper, because of all the paper we've been using for the
No,
budget.
that's in Chip's budget.
Oh,
It
that's
doesn't
true, it
come
is in
out
your
of
budget.
us.
So I'll follow up and
And
I'll
what that
let
is,
let
I
you know.
questioned that too, I forgot to ask today.
Okay, thank you.
Will the 20th be a special meeting or just a work session?
It's a special.
Okay.
Well,
Well, it's kind of a work session.
okay, yeah, I think it is kind of a work session, because we're just getting input, yeah, so,
Yeah.
Let's call it a
work session. Okay, all right, anything else to discuss before we entertain a motion to adjourn?
So move to adjourn.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.